Bears Nation, Bears Nation. Bears got the win, 23-20. Bears Nation, welcome to Barroom Network. This is Bear Football, and we are celebrating the Bears' victory. John, we can always fix things after a W, but joining us, my brother in Christ, my brother in Bears football from Buffon 55, blood and soul for this team. John Buffon, how you doing, brother?
Hey, feeling pretty good, Gaines. You know what? Like we always say, it's much better to criticize a team or go over the improvements with a team after a win. So they got that. They got a W. They beat a team they were supposed to beat, and then you can build on that, hopefully.
John, I ain't gonna lie, I was worried. John, I'm like, John, it's 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
How is this show gonna go? But John, like, what? Instant reaction from you, brother. Instant reaction.
Cool. When I saw Joe Thomas not pick up that fumble inside the 10-yard line, I'm like, oh God, is that gonna be the play we're talking about? Is that what's gonna come back and bite the Bears in the ass? But you know what? They came out, they did what they had to do. Roquan saves the day, made a pretty good case for himself today. Tackling machine, by the way. But puts his stamp on at the end of the game. The Bears were able to get a W. And like we said in week one, this is sometimes a game that you just assume that the Bears of past years were going to lose. There's just nothing was working, or it looked ugly, and the Bears never were able to win ugly. Well, they definitely won ugly today. Certainly some things to clean up, but at the end of the day, they're 2-1, which is more than what most of the national pundits were giving this team. So I will say that they were playing the Texans. The Texans look like they're worse off than the Bears are right now. But the Bears, they did what they had to do. They won. The defense made some nice adjustments, I think, in the second half. They were flooding to the ball a little bit better. And overall, you're not thrilled with the performance, but you're happy they come out at home with a win.
John, you hit it right on the head, my guy. Roquan Smith saves the day. And so, when we talking about a whole week of non-practicing, is Roquan Smith going to make a business decision and not play with the hip? But we saw Roquan making tackles in the backfield, and then the game-saving tackle to win the game. You see what I mean? But joining us, ladies and gentlemen, from Draft on Tap, our favorite freaking scout, Danny Simmons. Brother, what is your instant reaction to the game?
Well, my reaction is a win's a win, man. I know people are talking about this was an ugly win. Like NFL, I said last week, every week, you go out there, you never know what's going to happen. I think the Colts just beat the Chiefs, maybe. So I mean, it's every given Sunday, it's an old phrase, old term, but anything can happen. But as of right now, I'll take the win. But I mean, there's definitely things to be concerned about, and I'm fair and foremost one of the bigger Justin Fields fans here. I still have a lot of faith in this kid, but something's not clicking offensively. Something is not clicking right now. The Bears are actually a running football team. They're a team that looks like they could run the football on almost any defense in the NFL so far within 3 weeks. And that's what I would just build on the rushing attack. I know it's not pretty, and that's not what the fans want to see. They want to see Fields out there throwing the ball and spreading it all over the field. But it's going to be a progress. And I've said this. I'm treating this as a rookie year for Justin Fields. And right now it looks like he's a little hesitant, a little maybe confused, not sure of himself, playing with a lack of confidence is what I would probably say it. But like some of these throws where we're here on the screen right now is like, the one to Mooney was really just like overshot him right into the hands of Jalen Petrie. The one right there to Komet was not more of like a line drive, doesn't get put much feather on it. Just tells me that he doesn't have the confidence right now to be able to drop those balls in these tight coverages. And until that gets resolved, it's going to be an offensive game plan that's going to be pretty boring, and we're going to have the defense come up and make plays. Today, 3 turnovers by the defense. That's the what they preach here: create turnovers, give you opportunity, offense a chance with a short field to score some points, and that's what happened today.
Danny, I want to just say I relate with you, and Aldo kind of spoke to it during our halftime show. If the running the ball works, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But I'm with John. In passing situations, our quarterback has to be able to pass the ball to keep the defense honest. But at the same time, the most rushing yards that we've had in over like 20 plus years. I'll just say that. Chicago Bears freaking almost 300 yards rushing the ball. John, with David Montgomery going out and Khalil Herbert stepping in and not missing a beat, how big was Khalil Herbert to the offenses today?
Well, I think this is a guy that I think Bears fans and the Bears organization have a lot of confidence in. He ran the ball 20 times for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's a pretty phenomenal performance. And then you go through the line, and Justin Fields had 47 yards rushing. St. Brown had 43 yards on 2 rushes. Ebner had 23 yards off of 7 carries, and before he went out, Montgomery had 11 yards on 3 carries. So obviously, this is a running team, and they're going to have to run the ball. But at the same time, you're not playing the Texans every week, and so eventually, if they're dedicated to winning the game, and they're going to have this conservative approach, they are going to have to eventually open it up a little bit, because they're not going to be playing Davis Mills every week. They're not going to be playing the Texans' run defense every week. So at some point, you're going to have to see a change or an adjustment where they can get something going with the passing game. And I'm not here to put 100% of the blame on anyone. I mean, is it play calling? Probably a little bit. Is it Justin Fields? A little bit. Is it the weapons around him? Absolutely. So line. I mean, the offensive line, and that's what I kind of wanted to ask you about that, Danny. Do you think he's somewhat even gun shy back there, even when he does have a little bit of time? It looks, and I'm not a scout, and I don't have an eye for these kind of things, but just from watching it, it looks like even when he has a little bit of time, he's getting some happy feet back there. Is that a result from potentially not used to getting much pass protection?
It very well could be, John, and it's something where he jumps back there, and it's either he's looking at the line to make sure no one's coming free and trying to tackle him, or he's down there looking downfield trying to find a receiver. And one thing I've noticed with Fields is, and then this offense is a rhythm-based offense. It's 1, 2, 3, get the ball out of your hands real quick. And there's a couple of times he kind of hitches and he doesn't just let go of the football. And maybe he just doesn't want to create a turnover. He just want to be really, really cautious with the football. But there's going to be times now or he's going to have to just kind of rely and let the offense do its thing, right? And I know the playmakers aren't what other guys have out there in the NFL, but you're going to have to rely and make sure at least you're doing your part, getting the ball to the receiver in time, and by holding on to the football too quick. Again, when you look at all 22s, there are times where you see he's not going through a complete progression because A, he doesn't have time, or B, he's gone 1, 2, bam, he's found a guy. Your second read in the progression hasn't gone through his third read because he just wants to get rid of the football. I think that's what they're preaching to him right now is get the ball out of your hands quickly. So sometimes you see him not even go through a full field progression. But whatever it is, it's not on Justin Fields. It's not just on the playmakers, and it's not just on the offense side. It's the whole thing combined. It just doesn't look right. And the big indicator to me that this coaching staff does not trust this offense was right before the half, guys. A minute and 4 left, right before halftime. I'm sure you guys touched on it at the halftime show, but a minute 4 left with 3 timeouts, and you don't even try and get yourself in field goal position. Now, I know we hired our defensive coach, and defensive coaches are always by nature conservative, but that's not today's NFL. And John, great point. You go up against the Buffalo Bills, you're not going to win this type of offense. You're just not going to do it. You can't score enough points to keep up with these, with these high power offenses. So, whatever needs to go, it needs to get fixed. It needs to get fixed fast. Now you're lucky enough where you're facing the Texans, you're facing the Giants, 2 teams back to back where, you could pound the ball down their throat, and maybe get away with 20 points, or 17 points and get a victory if your defense comes up big, makes, turnovers. So, that's what their schedule kind of gives them here early on in the season. That's why I think, this next game as well versus the Giants, could be a win, could be a loss. The Texans thought this game was a win for them as well, possibly coming in here too. So this is just one thing is you just got to work through these struggles here early on. I know it's frustrating for the fans. I know we're quick to jump off. We want to see, action right away. We want to see the points on the board right away, but it's going to take some time and just preaching patience here. But I know we've been waiting for a long time for a high powered functioning offense in Chicago. Just got to get a little more time here and see what happens. At least give these kids, Fields and the rest of the offense, give them at least mid-season. Let's see how they progress.
So, gentlemen, some of my instant reactions today who I saw step up personally was Nick Morrow, somebody who just really showed up at the point of attack, something that Roquan didn't do so much last week. But today, Nick Morrow and Roquan Smith at the point of attack of tackling the defender when they had the ball was like super, super key. And, gentlemen, we are now 12-0 when Eddie Jackson has an interception. I don't know how long we can hang our hat by this, John.
But it works.
But it's working, John. Your thoughts on Eddie in the secondary?
I think that the secondary is it shows what we thought it was going to show. It's going to show ups and downs, and there's going to be some big splash plays, but there's also going to be some busted up coverage that you see from Kyler Gordon every once in a while. But you see the potential there, and you see not just the secondary, but the defense in general swarming to the ball, always punching at the ball. They're making ball runners very uncomfortable whenever they're getting through. They're trying to be opportunistic there. So I think that what we saw today is what we're probably going to see for the majority of the season, hopefully much better towards the end of the season, where you're going to see some turnovers and they're going to be ball hawking, but there are going to be some busted coverage whenever you see Davis Mills was able to use the middle of the field a little bit today whenever he did make some of those longer throws. So I'm excited about the secondary. I think Eddie Jackson probably is much more comfortable in this system and with this coaching staff, and hopefully getting back to what he does. And I think Jaquan Brisker is a big addition to allow him to do what he does. It would have been a lot better to have Jalen Johnson out there today, but given the circumstances, they held their own. They did what they had to do. It's not like Davis Mills lit them up. It's not like Davis Mills is going to light a whole bunch of people up, but they held Davis Mills to 245 yards. He was 20 of 32 for a touchdown and 2 interceptions. So they did what they had to do. Obviously, some things to clean up, but excited about the potential.
John, I'm with you, and going along with that, I feel like Kyler Gordon also had a bounce back game. I wish that pass to the immediate to the flat, just in terms of ball awareness, in terms of when the game is on the line. I mean, because John and Danny, my thoughts is throughout the first 40 minutes, it's done. It's 2020. It's 4 minutes left. We're gonna win or we're gonna lose. How are we gonna react? And Kyler Gordon. Brisker, I saw their attention awareness. That tight end was left open throughout the course of the game, and that's what kept the Texans in it. But Kyler Gordon had alerts on the ball and said, hey, they're checking the flat. I wish it was a pick six, because that would have been super ideal, and every Bears fan would have went crazy. But Danny, just your thoughts on Kyler Gordon, just in terms of tackling a little bit better and being at the point of attack.
Right. For me, I disagree on that, on Kyler Gordon with you, Tyler, because I think he's struggling. He's a rookie, and he's getting, baptism by fire. And again, we saw missed tackles. We saw him getting juked. We saw him, just get turned around and pass defense as well. So again, for me, at least I've said this multiple times, he's playing out of position. He's not a nickel corner, but the Bears are going to try him there initially. But, so for me, the struggles of Kyler Gordon continue in week 3. That was a nice play. You talked about in terms of the where he's coming off an edge there as a blitzing defensive back, shows that his awareness there to get the ball up, his hand up, bat the ball, and make a big play there. So that was a good play there. He needed a positive play. I tweeted it out. I go, that was a positive play that Kyler Gordon needed to have just when he's going through film session tomorrow, because he's going to see a lot of negative plays. He's seen a lot of negative highlights the first 3 weeks, but that was a positive for him though. The one thing to me though, I was like, when I saw that Jalen Johnson was out today, I got concerned, because even though it's Davis Mills still put up some decent numbers last year. He's still a young quarterback that's developing. And I thought for sure that the Bears are going to get thrown, the football thrown on him, throughout the whole entire game. But hats off to Jalen Jones, man, the rookie who came up there and just stepped up. And you never heard his name really called throughout the game, and that tells me that they weren't even going at him. So, and proof in the pudding is they're actually going at Vildor, and they were going at Kyler Gordon most of the game there too. So I think one time they threw out at a guy where Jones came up, made a play on him, made a tackle on him, but hat tip to that kid, because again, I thought he was going to get picked on all day, but. Maybe it was the fact that it was the Houston Texans again that and they didn't kind of identify that guy as a weakness and went after him. But that's one thing there. But yeah, Kyler Gordon's got to get much better.
The only thing that I thought about Johnson, they called a flag a holding on him, which I didn't think was a holding pretty much at all. That was kind of ticky tacky.
I thought that was on Vildor. Was that on Vildor?
No, it was on Johnson.
It was on Johnson.
It was on Johnson, but it was no holding. I didn't see. I did not.
I remember that play. It did not look like holding.
I literally didn't see anything. But gentlemen, let's go back to the offensive line, because Danny, you touched on a couple of things, because I saw this too. Justin does not seem settled to me. And then I'm like, is this what they're seeing in practice? Or are we seeing opposite what they're seeing in practice? Justin looks unsettled. He got tripped up 4 different times, himself or his lineman, and then he's overthrowing receivers. Danny, I'm with you. It's his first year mentality. I'm with you. The Seahawks did the same thing with Russell Wilson his year. They just ran the ball nonstop and threw it I think the Seahawks threw it once every 6 plays. They would let Russell throw until he got acclimated to it. Is that what you see here with Justin? Because I believe in the kid. He has the talent. I'm watching this man after he makes a mistake, how he is on the sideline. And he had his opportunity. I'm coming back in. But do you see us just taking it slow with his development?
Yeah, I mean, the Russell Wilson comparison is, that's a good one, but I was expecting that to be happening last season. That's what I thought Nagy and that we're going to try and do, is trying to bring about, but obviously that's not the case. But that's what they're doing here now, and that's why I think they're trying to bring him along. The concerning thing is just the what looks like a lack of confidence, or just not being himself back there in the pocket when he's asked. Now, when he's actually run out and make plays as just a natural athlete, you see the talent, right? You see him making throws on the run. You see him breaking tackles and getting first downs. I believe busted out a 29-yard run there in that first quarter. So stuff like that is what you see and what gets you excited, and it gets the offense moving. So he adds that dimension. But we're trying to get him in that pocket and more comfortable. And then there's times where just 1, 2, he's just either holding onto the ball too long, not getting rid of it in time, or he sees that his guys downfield are not open, his first or second option. He's just trying to get away, buy some time, and next thing you know, he's either running himself into a sack or he's running for a short gain. So I just think the just getting it into him where 1, 2, 3, bam, ball's got to get out of your hands. And I think some of these quick hitting plays, like the screens, like the slip screens, some of these that they try to do in the second half, I think that's only going to help them get the ball in the hands of his playmakers and let them make things easier for him as well. So, this is just going to be a constant development for me. And when I see him, and I think young quarterbacks, guys, are going to struggle, right? We all know that there's a learning process. Some take it quicker, some come in and they're ready to go right away. Some just kind of have to be brought along. And I think right now with Fields, with the coaching change and all that stuff, I think we're just going to have to be a little bit more patient with them. Just let you want to see him improve. Definitely. Today's numbers were what, 7 for 18 or something like that for 106 yards. That's not going to win it. That's not going to be good enough, right? And week in and week out in the NFL. I think 8 for 17, 106 yards were his total. So, they had more than 11 pass attempts, but still 17 isn't something that you're going to, hang your hat on week in and week out. So it's just going to be a constant process. And it's going to look ugly in the beginning, but like I said, I just want to see constant improvement. So we'll see if that happens.
Danny, Danny, that makes sense. And I'm with you. And real quick, I just want to shout out everybody in the chat. Bears Nation, we appreciate you all spending your post-game victory with us. And we all want to say a special shout out to the man, the wizard behind the scenes, Aldo Gandia, with the 1s and 2s, making it look easy for us real quick. But everybody in the chat, what is the number one thing you're most excited about? Put it in the chat so we can see that come up. And then, Danny, to your point, Josh Allen was considered a bust his first 2 seasons with the Bills. He was overthrowing receivers. That's what Bills. This is from Bills Nation. I watched the Bills the past couple of years, and they were saying he was a bust his first 2 years. And so Sean McDermott came in. They got things together, and so Justin Fields. I'm not comparing them, but yeah, I can, because if this is his rookie year with a real coach, respectfully, I'm going to say respectfully, with a real coach, John. I mean, can we just faith and patience? Are we so much in for instant gratification? Or can we just win with this right now, John?
Look, I said this earlier in the week. I knew what my expectations were for this team and for the quarterback and for some of the skill position players heading into the season. But it doesn't help. It doesn't do a damn thing the day of the game, because you still want your team to win. So you're going to get emotional. You're going to get angry. You're going to be critical, because when you're in the moment, you still want that team to win, regardless of what your holistic expectations are for this team. Because I was pissed off when they lost to Green Bay. No one, including myself, really had that as a win going into that game or going into the season. But the fact that they lost, we were still angry. We're still going to be critical. We're going to be victims of the moment, so to speak. But whenever I want to be able to look at this, 11, 12 weeks into the season to get a better idea of how things are going. And to be honest, one of the most interesting storylines to me now is, depending on how severe David Montgomery's injury is, Khalil Herbert now has his chance to showcase his talents to the Bears to say, I can be the number one guy. I can be the workhorse. I can be the showcase running back. And if Montgomery's out for a significant amount of time, comes back maybe at the end of the season or, in 4 or 5 weeks, but Khalil Herbert has 6-7 games of great tape, does that basically seal David Montgomery's fate of perhaps not coming back to this team next year because they feel like they can get it done with Khalil Herbert, and then they can find a number two to be behind him? So I find this very fascinating just from a storyline perspective, because David Montgomery's a fantastic running back. I love David Montgomery, but if the Bears, in the way that they're looking at things now, where they're saving money and they're being frugal and they're going to spend money in very targeted areas, if they feel like they can get very similar production from Khalil Herbert on his current contract, they're probably not going to give a lot of money to David Montgomery to come back next year. So I find this to be a very interesting next couple of weeks, depending on the severity of David Montgomery. If he's back next week, then we're not having this conversation. But if it's something severe or at least moderate, where he's going to be out for a number of weeks, then Khalil Herbert has a nice long audition, and Ryan Poles has a nice long look at Khalil Herbert to say, you know what, we're going to roll with him in 2023. David, appreciate everything you've done, but we're not going to pay you $6, $7, $8 million per year for you to be here. So I find that to be a pretty interesting storyline as the next coming weeks come, because they're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball, and you're going to get a very good sample size of Khalil Herbert in that number one role.
John, I think that was a gruesome injury because it was the weight of the lineman was on his back heel, and you seen him stretched over. You just hope nothing's not torn. And if anything, you hope he doesn't have a broken ankle. So our prayers to David, who was running very hard. He was our only bright spot of the Packer game. My question was going to be to you guys, do the Bears do the same thing we did with Cohen? Do we still show him love? This is a contract year for David.
Right.
No, not a single gripe, not a single ounce of selfishness. I'm here for the team. It will take care of itself. I think David will be more easy to say, hey, I'll take what you give me. I want to stay here. Give me another 1-year deal to prove myself. But Khalil Herbert, I mean, we're talking about 150 plus yards here with 2 touchdowns the first time in his career, which honestly brought a spark in my opinion. And so, Danny, what are your thoughts on that running back situation?
Oh man, I love Khalil Herbert, and I love Montgomery as well. And I said that the Bears running back room was one of the deepest and most talented on the team. And if you don't want injuries, but if there was a position that could sustain an injury to the starter, it was the running back room, because I'm in just a big time, like I said, believer in Khalil Herbert. I liked Ebner as well in terms of what he provided in the preseason. Today he got a little bit worried with him. He too wasn't kind of hitting it full speed. It was kind of tiptoeing there. Yeah. It was kind of like slowing down. I'm like, this guy's got 4.31 speed, and when he's got to be able to hit it and hit that gear and go. But hopefully that's something that will get better with him. But yeah, I mean, and like again, I think Herbert is a heck of a backup, and I think he's gonna. You saw today, he's a guy who can carry the load and be a featured back. Very good out of the backfield as well. So they might have to go pull up someone off the practice squad or bring in a veteran just to be a third string if Montgomery is out for what appears to be a very long time. So I hated to see him go down. But in terms of future, yeah, I mean, you got to be honest, right? This is a business, and I think running backs are guys you just can pluck in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and you can bring guys in. Herbert is a prime example there as well. Ebner is an example there as well. So I hate to see a guy like Montgomery leave just because of the leadership, what he brings to the locker room and all that stuff. But after all, it is a business, and I see that the Bears I don't think they're going to invest. Even if Montgomery went through it the season, injury free, had a good year, I didn't see them making him a priority to bring him back. That's just me, right? So just because of the position he plays. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, it's not a long-term injury. Hopefully, he comes back this season. Hopefully, they re-sign him. I mean, I'm a big David Montgomery fan. I just we'll see what he wants and what the market asks or details for him to get. So, but the running back situation is one where I felt confident that if the starter did go down, unfortunately, I think Herbert would be a nice backup and fill in. And I think he just proved that today.
Definitely not just a business decision, but the Bears will have tons of cap space next year, which I think was in David's favor. But David just being a good guy didn't seem like the pay me top 5 when he know he hasn't produced like a top 5, but like pay the man for what he's done because he has been one of our bright spots in my opinion. And so, but hopefully he heals up, and I have full belief in Herbert will get it done. But gentlemen, Cole Kmet can catch the ball. It's amazing. Who would have thought? And so NFL Today would tell you he's not Kelsey. He's not these other guys, and we all know that's not what he has shown us to be. I like Cole Kmet. He's a good guy. He's been very, very patient. He's been blocking his butt off. How cool is it today to see him get a couple catches, John?
No, it's great to see him get going, and I have always had moderate expectations for Cole Kmet, just because I wasn't. All full disclosure, and you can go back to listen. I wasn't thrilled that they used that pick for a tight end to begin with, but I of course wanted Cole Kmet to produce and be that number one guy. But I think Danny, you've said this on a couple occasions. He's just not built to be that Travis Kelce or George Kittle kind of guy where he's going to just be a vertical type of tight end. For me, he's more of the chain mover, secure the catch, get that 6-7 yard reception, maybe get a couple yards after the catch, but he's your chain mover. He's going to be your possession guy. And if your possession guy's dropping the ball, then that's even worse. It was good to see him get going a little bit today. 2 catches for 40 yards. That's encouraging moving forward. Hopefully get him a little more involved. That ball that was I think it was the first Fields pick was intended for him in the middle of the field, so they were targeting him. I think that you need something to build on. So I think this was probably this was a good performance to build on. But like I've said, like we said in the past, it's not like there's a ton of balls to go around anyway. So it's not like we can expect out of Justin Fields' 8 receptions that 7 of them are going to Cole Kmet. Like there aren't that many to go around at this point. Just like there isn't the whole thing with Darnell Mooney. It's he dropped that one screen, which I hated because I thought they had an opportunity to get some real yardage on that play, and that's the thing that you want your number one receiver to catch. But there just aren't that many balls to go around right now. I would love for them to really suck the defense in by running the ball, and then there has to be an opportunity with a guy like Darnell Mooney with that blazing speed. There has to be some opportunities for him to get vertical at some point. It looks like Matt Eberflus is at the podium, so we'll just go to him.
Nice job there, and then obviously the play that ended the game with Blackson tipping it, and then Roquan having that focus and concentration to be able to look that ball all the way in. When it's below your waist, that's a hard catch because the ground comes into your vision. Really got to look that all the way in, and we worked on that, and he did a great job of focusing in on that and then taking it in to set us up for the game-winning field goal. But I will open up the questions from there. What's the status on David? Yeah, David Montgomery, it's good. He's going to be day-to-day, so that's a positive. So we'll see where he is tomorrow. We'll really reevaluate it from there, but it's a positive for sure. Is it his knee, man? It's lower leg right now, so we'll just look at it. Again, there's a couple things going on there, but we'll look at it.
Matt, the obvious question is, your young quarterback Justin Fields struggled today. How do you instill confidence in him after a game like that, and how do you help him bounce back from that?
Yeah, I just think that is when you're working with a young quarterback in a new offense, I think that the people around him have to be solid and have to be good. So that's important for us, meaning that the protection has to be good, the run game has to be good. The defense has to be really good, okay? And special teams, we got to be awesome. And what you do is you support that quarterback while he's growing and while he's going through this. And there's going to be good, there's going to be things that he has to improve on, but that's in the whole football team. The whole football team's like that. We all watched the game, we all saw it. We need to improve. I thought we took a step in the right direction, improving our football team from week 2 to week 3. And we're going to have to continue to do that. We're a young group. Not only a young offense, we're a young defense. We got a young group across the board, and it's about being technically fundamentally sound. Like for example, on defense, we said we wanted to improve.
All right,
Classic Bears audio.
Classic Bears audio.
Yeah.
And so John, the real quick positive was David. That was a relief. I thought it was worse, and so it looked like it may be just his ankle. But your quick thoughts on David Montgomery being day to day.
Well, we've seen this from David Montgomery before because was it 2 years ago where they thought that he could potentially miss like half the season and he still showed up game one and started playing. So we know that he's a resilient player. So the fact that he could be back sooner rather than later doesn't shock me. If he's back next week, that would be very surprising, just given what I thought I saw on the field there. So, but this is a guy that wants to play and he runs hard and he's obviously in phenomenal shape. So we'll see what that's a great relief because you'd much rather have Montgomery and Herbert running the ball, splitting some of the carries, rather than just putting it all on Herbert and then eventually getting 6 or 7 carries to Ebner. So I think that's a great sign. But we'll see what happens. We'll see as the week progresses if he practices, how much he practices, and if he's going to be a game time decision when they take on the Giants next week.
Absolutely, and it's such a freaking relief. And if you're joining us in the chat, we're breaking down the Bears victory. Tomorrow's the Victory Monday. Everybody can go to work feeling happy. And if you're joining us right now, we got Danny Shimon, our draft analyst, scout expert, and so joining us with you. And so Danny, just your thoughts now on the Bears moving. I don't want to say moving forward. I do want to continue to break down this game. But it's better to fix things after. If we would have lost this game, it would have been pretty bad. Yeah. It would have been pretty bad. It would have been like, tear the whole thing down. What are we doing? It's a rebuild. It's not. But Danny, just I guess if you want to talk about Luke real quick on Luke's consistently to stay with the run today.
Yeah, I mean, guys, if you sit here and you listen to some of these people in our chat today, and we appreciate all of our fans, but I mean, you think the Bears lost today, but they actually won, guys. I know it wasn't pretty, and I know everyone's jumping on Justin Fields. He doesn't look like he's the right now he doesn't look like he's like a wild old machine, but guys, it's a process. And to me, last year we were sitting here, John, you, me, Tyler, were yelling, run the ball, give the ball to Montgomery, and Nagy was back there having Fields throw 40 times against Cleveland with only 5-man protection, getting sacked 9 times. So we have a team now. We have a play caller that believes in running the football. And I said coming into the season, I go, don't look at what he did with Green Bay. Look more so where the Titans kind of built their offense, because they remember the head coach of the Packers came from Tennessee, and then obviously Getsy was underneath him. So you got to look at running the football. Everything is built on that play action. Their passing game downfield is going to be off to play action, and they're gushing guys now with teams now with the running attack. So now that should coming couple of weeks here, you should see some more play action passes downfield. Then when you go to play action, all right, is Justin now getting the protection, right? Justin getting protection back there in the pocket? Is he's getting receivers downfield getting open? So that's where now you got to get to that next level, because I think once you've established yourself as a running team, now you can use the play action game here to your advantage. Now the next element comes in now, right? Pringle leaves today injured after one play. Dante Pettis has done nothing really in terms of providing anything on offense. St. Brown made a couple nice plays, but he's not really a deep threat. The biggest deep threat we have is Darnell Mooney right now, and he's not doing anything in terms of getting open downfield. At least we're not seeing any attempts to him downfield. Velus Jones is a rookie that brings that speed, that power. We haven't seen him on the field yet for the first 3 weeks. So, are they going to go outside the organization, bring some guys in, or just kind of rely on some of these guys getting healthy and gelling? And Kill Harry, is he coming back after 4 weeks or 5 weeks? After that ankle surgery. So, how this offense progresses, specifically that passing attack is what we're going to be kind of keying on here. And I agree with Coach. I know the audio wasn't greatest there, but he did say that it's everything around the quarterback. It's not just him. And we've been trying to say this, and I know people here in the chat are jumping on me or saying he's not a rookie. I'm not saying Justin Fields is a rookie. I'm saying I'm treating him like this is his rookie season because of what he went through last year. So I'm going to wipe the slate clean with him. I go, this is his first campaign here in Chicago, and now he's being coached up to be an NFL quarterback. And that's what I'm trying to stress here to everybody. And again, I know patience is a virtue, right? Now everybody's going to be patient. They want to see, Herbert came onto the field as a rookie and lit it up, and you want to see Fields do that as well. But Herbert had, weapons around. He had Mike Williams. He had Melvin Gordon in the backfield. He had, other receivers there. Keenan Allen. Thank you. But he had weapons there to work with. Justin Fields is coming in with a bare cupboard here, right? Nothing to work with, and he's trying to build. They're trying to build an offense around him here. So, as long as you get a victory, that's all you can kind of root for. Now, obviously, the rushing game is working. Keep going to it, and then build from there. Build play action, rollouts, all that stuff we've said, previous weeks.
Guys, yeah, Danny, you're right, bro. I was trying to ignore it, but like, guys in the chat, chill out. Like, we got the freaking win. Like, we got the freaking win. If you mad about Justin Fields, imagine how New York feels about Daniel Jones. They're just winning. Okay, Daniel Jones was the first round pick how many years ago? Like, faith with patience, just like Danny said. And so when Dak came into the league, Dak had his offensive line had over $150 million in the offensive line, and Zeke in prime condition, not eating 50 cheeseburgers later, respectfully. And so at the end of the day, Justin is coming in now. Justin is coming in, learning with these new guys. Come on, guys. At the end of the day, we're 2-1. We're 2-1, one win in each conference, which is great, going against the Giants team that I feel like we can get a win on. I mean, we know Dabo's coming from that Bills tree and everything. It's going to be aggressive. It's going to be a lot of Barkley and all those other guys. But Danny, to your point, it is his Justin Fields rookie season, because in terms of learning an offense that's actually competent, so to speak, and how to actually maneuver, and all that Matt Nagy talked about last week was, did he throw just under the bus and he couldn't read defenses or something like that last year? And so at the end of the day, our coaching staff this year is actually grooming him to be in a proper position to do something going forward. That's my personal opinion. And so, but John, real quick, your thoughts going forward with the offensive line, because at this point, I'm like, yo, St. Patrick, take the freaking glove off, because is Sam Mustipher starting to sputter right now?
Well, I think we've seen what we've seen from Sam Mustipher. I mean, I think that he is what he is, and he's a average to below average center, I would say. And Danny would probably know better than I do, but I'm just using the eye test on this. And as far as the patience thing, listen, I know trust me, I'm right there with everybody, where I'm tired of hearing about next year and tired of hearing about how they could potentially be something in 2 years. I mean, they haven't, played in a Super Bowl in, 16 years or 15 years. They haven't won a Super Bowl in almost 40 years. The patience thing is wearing thin as far as preaching patience. But in this instance, where we were pretty well aware that this was going to be a rebuild year, and if you're able to, if you're able to build on 6, 7, 8 wins, then that's, you got to feel good. But in the moment, it's very, very difficult to just be like, okay, whatever, we're just gonna let it progress, because we've been trying to let things progress for decades. And why should this situation be any different than the other situations that didn't pan out? So I mean, you got to have hope that it's going to. And moving forward with the offensive line, eventually you think that Lucas Patrick is going to be at center, and then Tevin Jenkins will be your starting right guard. And so I'm wondering, and because I don't have the scouting eye that Danny has, but how much of a difference is there between how well this team run blocks and how poorly they pass block at times? What is the key ingredient to the fact that they can bulldoze the line of scrimmage, but they sure as hell can't keep Justin Fields upright at times?
Well, offensive linemen love to run block, because all you do is you come big, powerful men come off the line of scrimmage, and you pull your guy, or if you're going east or west, or if you're going north and south, you just get your hands, get your body into your defender, and just move them off their spot. Pass blocking is a little bit more, athleticism, if you will, to be able to keep your feet, keep your balance, stay in your posture, keep a guy in front of you. And I think just right now, where, for example, like Tevin Jenkins today was blowing guys off the line of scrimmage. A couple of runs I saw, there was a couple of times where he was getting pushed back and pass protection. So they're the prime example. I'm not pick on Jenkins specifically. I mean, Borum had his struggles as well in pass protection today, but I saw him make some nice run blocks down the field as well. So that's where now offensively you can run the football. Now is get those 5 guys in there that can help pass block and keep Justin Fields upright, give him some time. The one thing I keep wanting to harp on here is guys like, and Tyler, you touched on it before, and I've touched on it before. Josh Allen was being booed and talked about as a possible bust in Buffalo. What happened? They gave him an offensive line. They gave him weapons. Look at Josh Allen. Tua Tagovailoa was talked about being a bust, was benched for Ryan Fitzpatrick, a career journeyman, right? In Miami, they gave Tua an offensive line. They gave him some weapons. Look what Tua doing this year, right? Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. All these examples you can see of guys just kind of working on themselves and getting better themselves, and also their team around them getting better. I think that's what we're trying to point to here is we all know that the team around Justin Fields isn't what it's going to be hopefully in a year or 2 or 3 years from now, right? So let's just give him the opportunity to kind of build and get those rookie mistakes, if you will, those kinks out of there. And then now as he progresses his game, as he gets better, the talent around him, offensive line, receivers, tight ends, so on and so forth, is getting better and better. Then you'll see this offense click. I'm not saying it's going to be this way the rest of the season. I hope it's not, because it's hard to watch a passing game that can barely get the ball down the field. But I actually think they're going to be taking incremental steps as opposed to these big, huge leaps that we're all kind of wanting and expecting.
Gentlemen, and then Danny, you actually remind me of something, because, and I want to ask both of you gentlemen this question. What is it about slot receivers? Once they do great in the slot, some of them, they have to be a number 1 wide receiver. And so for everybody in the chat who was like really down on Allen Robinson last year, I mean, we had some Olin Cruz, we had some like Hall of Fame people talking about how he was dang near chastised it last year of being taken out of the offense, and we were sold that Darnell Mooney would be our clear-cut number 1 wide receiver. And what I tweeted out about a couple hours ago, but everybody wants to be the number 1 until you're expected to be the number 1, and you have number 1 coverage going on you. And when you brought up Josh Allen, Danny, my first thought was Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley was Josh Allen's wonderful scapegoat those years. And then, but that allowed Josh Allen to develop. You bring in Diggs, and then now Josh Allen is just very comfortable in his mindset. And so what I'm saying is Darnell is dark. But my question overall for that to say all that was Darnell Mooney, number 1, number 2, number 3. I mean, it doesn't matter what the number is, because he's out there taking the best coverage, John. She just be in the slot, and we should have tall guys on the outside, because I'm actually excited about the dude Harry, the 6'4" former number 1 wide receiver taking a draft by the Patriots. I'm kind of excited about taking back because of physical frame. Is Darnell Mooney playing out of position?
I don't. It's a loaded question, because I think that he is. He, as of right now, he's not showing that he is a number 1 receiver. But once again, how many passes are up for grabs throughout the game? Now he dropped that one pass, and I'm not going to keep harping on the drop of the screen, but that's just a play that you want your number 1 guy to make. And if you have a guy with his speed, which I believe he's a 4.3 guy coming out of Tulane, that if they're able to run the ball well and run and roll out on play action, you would hope that he would at least once a game find some separation where it's not where Justin Fields doesn't have to just put it in a tight pocket and it's right there. You would hope that Mooney can create some separation for an easy throw downfield. And we really haven't seen that yet. We saw it to Dante Pettis. We saw it to Equanimeous St. Brown, but we haven't really seen it at Darnell Mooney yet. So there's just been some hiccups there where I don't know if he's out of position, if it's the fact that he has the other team's number 1 cornerback, or what it is. You would think after all the hype that he and Fields got for their building of chemistry through the offseason, that this was going to be just a really good tandem, and they were going to be able to they were going to be able to connect multiple times throughout the game, and that just has not happened yet. And so I guess that's a very roundabout way of me saying I don't know what the hell the problem is, but there definitely is one. Maybe Danny can give us a little more context on that.
Well, to answer your question, Tyler, no, Darnell Mooney is not a number 1 receiver. At best, he's probably a good number 2 receiver. But if you put him on some of these high-powered offenses around the league, you put him on Philadelphia, he's the number 3 receiver. You put him on Minnesota, he's your number 3 receiver. You put him on the Rams, he's probably number 3 receiver. You put him on the Cowboys, even with Gallup coming back from an injury, you rather have CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and then Darnell Mooney number 3. So Darnell Mooney is not a number 1 receiver. Like I said, at best, he can probably become a probably good to very good number 2 receiver. But right now, he's not. And if they're trying to sell us, he's a number 1 receiver, but we all know he's not. Okay, so that's the thing is that it goes here and proves that what Fields and this offensive coaching staff is working with. They're working with receivers that on a lot of teams would be number 3, number 4 receivers, and we're busting them out there as number 1, number 2s, right? Pringle was brought in here. He was a number 3 or 4 with the Chiefs last year. We brought him here. We're thinking, oh, this guy's going to be a possible number 2 to Darnell Mooney. So, we're elevating guys because of the lack of talent we have on offense. We're elevating guys that are, average to decent players to make them into these positions where they're going to be, these week in and week out game records. I'm not saying they're not going to have good games here and there, but they're not the consistent number 1 receiver that you're looking for. And that's one thing that they're going to have to go out and get, along with some offensive linemen and maybe another tight end that can stretch the middle of the field and all that stuff. So there's so much to build on this offense that I think what they're again trying to do right now is just get the basics in, get something established here, and then now just kind of build from there.
Do you guys buy into that report that they're going to possibly trade for somebody? They're probably going to trade for a wide receiver at the deadline? Because I don't know, that seems like it would buck the trend for Ryan Poles to sacrifice draft assets to go get a guy mid-season. But maybe if they're really concerned about the development of Justin Fields, I think we need to bring a guy in right now that can contribute. Now, I don't know if they'd go out and they'd get like a name, because I don't know if there's anyone that's actually available for trade who's a really good receiver on a good team who's going to part with that in the middle of the year. But who's to say that they couldn't get a legit number 2 in if a team is struggling and they're looking just to acquire some draft assets? I have no idea who they go after, but I was wondering if you guys actually buy into that they could be players at the trade deadline to bring in a wide receiver.
I mean, I'm kind of, my question, John, is who and what are they giving up? Is it Tevin Jenkins? Please don't let it be the first or second round pick.
It'd be Montgomery.
It could have been. It could have been Montgomery, is the Galladay and for the Giants?
Oh, let him get released. That contract sucks.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but I know him and the Giants haven't been seeing eye to eye in that front office. What I don't want us to do coming to offseason is overpay for people like Christian Kirk, who I feel like it could be an asset, but I don't want to pay those astronomical prices. Danny, like John said, your thoughts on who we're going after?
Yeah, I mean, do I believe the report? Not really, because John, like you hit it, man. Because like, who are they gonna get? Who's out there right now? What team is? Hey, you know what? I have too many receivers here. Come get one for a 7th round pick. Like no one's gonna do that right now. So it's again, who is gonna be available? If it's a guy like Galladay, again, John, I agree with your sentiments. That guy's gonna get cut. He's just asking to get cut, and then you can probably pick him up for cheap and you don't want that contract. Plus, Galladay's had not been able to stay healthy either. So I think, again, who is it gonna be? Who are you gonna bring in here off the streets that's gonna be better than what you have right now? That someone that's already been in your program through OTAs, through training camp, working with your quarterback, and who's going to come in and give you that spark right now, right? So I saw that report and I just kind of took it with a grain of salt. I'm like, that's just someone just trying to get some clicks or just someone putting things out there. I'm not buying into that at all, because I would rather just save my draft capital, go draft myself. Some of these receivers are coming out of college. If there's a I can't think off the top of my head, and there's a top or two, or like a legit receiver in terms of free agency, a veteran to go and sign. But again, Tyler, you hit it too there. I don't want to give guys big time contracts for something that they've already done. So that's why for receiver, I like to go get these guys in the draft, because you see a lot of these young college receivers coming in now making an impact immediately as rookies. So that's the route I would prefer to go. Save my draft capital and just come April draft my receivers in the draft.
Yeah, the free agent market is pretty bad going into the offseason. It's I think I don't know off the top of my head. I think the biggest name I saw in there was maybe Alan Lazard, and I think that's I don't think you're going to overpay for that. Now, if they want to go the route where they're looking for a disgruntled wide receiver who's trying to get off the team, and they can get away with trading 2/3 or a second and a third and bringing over like Mike Evans once Tom Brady retires and he doesn't want to be in Tampa anymore. Dude's already got his ring, so maybe he's going to come somewhere where he can get traded and get extended, or a number of the T. Higgins I think is going to be up for a new contract at some point. Calvin Ridley, who knows if he's in the long-term plans with the Falcons. So if they can get one of those guys in, then maybe you make a trade. I certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't want to lose my first round pick, because at this point it could be relatively high. And so pairing a established veteran and then maybe drafting a wide receiver in the first round. The kid's name out of Ohio State keeps help me out, Danny.
And Jigma Smith. Yeah.
They maybe go out and they get him, and then Mooney's your 3. Then all of a sudden you revamped your wide receiving core pretty quick. But I'm not sure exactly if they're going to – I don't know what move they would make in season that would make anything better, because I don't think anyone who has a good receiver right now is probably a good team, and they don't want to start shedding assets whenever they're probably going to gear up for a playoff run.
Right.
And then, gentlemen, I don't want to give up assets to go get somebody we're not going to freaking throw it to. Like, what's the point? Definitely not draft capital, Danny. Thank God you said that, because don't go with draft capital. Because if you're not going to throw it to the guy, don't bring somebody. Then that's because if you're going to do that, at least can we just see you try to throw to somebody right now? Who's getting our 50-50 balls right now? We're not even getting that. The run game is looking great, and that's perfect. But when the balance that we're looking for per our coach is enough balance to win the game. And so Velus Jones Jr., our man from the Patriots, when they come back, let's see what we got.
Yep.
Yeah, I like Nikhil. I think a new scenery would do great for him. And I think Velus has incredible speed. Hamstring is very iffy. These soft tissue injuries can take like 6 to 8 weeks. I am a medical professional. So, but that being said,
that's a good point, though, Tyler.
Yeah, go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that's who I am looking forward to seeing come on field. I want to see Velus Jones in this offense. I want to see that big play element, that speed element, what he brings. Again, he's a rookie, but he's a multi-talented rookie. He can do a lot of things. You can handle the ball on those that jet sweep today that they gave it to St. Brown that he got a good gain on. If that's Velus Jones, who knows? He could break it maybe for a touchdown. You never know, right? That element of speed that he brings is something I want to see. I'm intrigued. I want to see on offense. And N'Keal Harry, again, I know he's a guy, a first round. They're considered a first round bust, but he's a big body receiver, right? He's not a guy that's going to create separation from a cornerback, but he's a guy that's got the size and the frame that can stretch outside his frame and reel in a catch. So even if he's covered, he's really not covered. So you just tell Justin, hey, if he's got one-on-one coverage, throw it up in his area. Let's see if he go up and makes a play. That's the kind of receiver you need right now. Someone where he doesn't have to run precise routes to get open. Right now with guys like Darnell Mooney, Pringle, and some of the other guys, they have to win at the line of scrimmage in terms of their release, get into their routes, and then create some of that separation and be able to get positive plays. And right now, we don't have a receiver we can just throw it up to, hey, go up and make a play, and next thing you know, it's a 20-yard gain in a first down. So, that's the things I want to see what N'Keal Harry brings. He might be a bust. We never know, but it's a gamble, I think, worth taking, right? Mm-hmm. And again, Velus Jones, that speed, that big play element, that's what I want to see more so than going and getting someone's number 3 or number 4 receiver from another team and giving up draft capital.
Mm-hmm. N'Keal Harry was with the Patriots, and 2 seasons later asked for a trade because he was being asked to just block. This is a guy in college, Danny, you can probably confirm or deny. He was a red zone target. He was getting touchdown passes, and this guy was like fighting for the ball in college.
He's a physical guy. He's physical at the catch point. He's a guy you can just, like I said, throw it up there. He'll go up, he'll battle a defensive back and win the football. That's what he was done in college. But the Patriots, he actually improved his run blocking downfield. So that's another element we don't talk about a lot, is his ability to block downfield for whether it's a Montgomery, whether it's a Herbert. That's something that's going to be positive here as well. So again, a lot of positives that I think could possibly come from an N'Keal Harry being inserted back into a lineup. We'll see.
I don't have many sources, but I do have a few, and one of them is in New England. And I kind of got the rundown of N'Keal Harry when everything went down, and it was more along the lines of, don't expect him to be a game breaker. Don't expect him to get any kind of separation. He's truly struggled trying to run some of those longer routes. But if you bring him in and you're trying to go up top, and he can go up and get some of those 50-50 balls. And that's exactly what the Bears kind of need right now. And they were they gave a very good report on his run blocking. Like you said, Danny, incredibly good run blocker. And that's the kind of guys that, they have brought in, the guys who are good run blockers. And so this is a guy that, like you said, probably fills a hole as far as go up and get it kind of thing. And he's not going to break. He's not going to get a 50-yard gain, but he can go up and get it if he's in the red zone.
It's more comfortable for a quarterback knowing that if you have a big guy there on the outside, as long as he's got one-on-one coverage, and if nothing else is going good, just throw it up to the guy. Throw it up and let him go up and make a play on the football.
He's 6'4". Like, yeah. Like he's 6'4", and especially in the red zone. I mean, at least a play action. I mean, that gives Justin at least a couple options, Danny, right?
Right, exactly. Just throw it up there with him and Cole Kmet. Again, the fact that Cole Kmet's not a red zone target, maybe because the team isn't really good in the red zone, but it's like, you put N'Keal Harry out there. I mean, you got 2 big guys. You can just throw the ball up there and help them and go up there and make a play on the football.
What was that stat
Gentlemen,
we heard? What was that stat we heard in the broadcast? They in the red zone. They are inside the 10. They run it like what 92% of the time or something.
92%, and then the league average is 42%. The Bears are 92%.
That's pretty good.
Again, guys, look all the negative stuff we're talking about.
No, but they won.
The Bears are 2-1.
Yeah,
They're 2-1.
And they have a real opportunity to be 3-1 next week.
Exactly.
They have a real opportunity to be 3-1 after. And this will be probably my last question to everybody: is if they go 3-1, do you think people will finally get off their backs about being the worst team? Like,
No.
I don't know what kind of axe to grind that Bart Scott has, calling them a CFL team and calling them not a professional team. Like, I don't know why it's like this thing is like, let's pile on the Chicago Bears. Like, it's not like the Chicago Bears were like really, really good for a long time, and now people are reveling in the fact that they're not good. Like, what is with this? Like, all of a sudden, let's go after the Chicago Bears when I think the Texans are a worse team, and I think since the Bears beat them, that can kind of prove that. I think the Seahawks are a worse team. I think the Falcons are a worse team, and I hate having to go over the teams that the Bears are actually better than or who's worse than the Bears. But at the same time, I don't understand this just national narrative where it's just like head and shoulders above everything else. The Bears are clearly the worst team in the NFL. I just don't understand what's the train of thought there. Whenever you have a team that runs the ball down everyone's throat and they're going to try to keep it close, they're going to be there and potentially have the opportunity to be 3-1 after next week.
Right.
And are you still going to call them the worst team in the league? Like, without question, number 1 overall pick, Chicago Bears. How can you possibly say that?
Right.
It's just lazy. It's just lazy theories, and it's the fact that the Bears got rid of talent players, name players, and then bring anything in to replace them. Everyone's thinking, oh, they're tanking. They're trying to get a high pick and so on and so forth. So they're going to be the worst team in football. Well, no. So the Bears, what they did was, I knew coming in the Bears were not going to be the worst team in football because, like you said, the Falcons are pretty bad. The Seahawks are pretty bad. I mean, I could rattle off more teams. I mean, hell, when I love the Steelers, but I mean, right now with Trubisky at quarterback, I think the Bears could beat the Steelers as well. You know, yeah, you know, so the Bears are not the worst team in football. They're not going to be the worst team in football. They never were in my mind. So I think it was just a narrative where they got rid of all this talent, didn't replenish the talent with any big names, and they're just tanking. And I think that's what everyone this lazy narrative that the media kind of took on nationally. But again, they're just always wrong.
Danny, the 3 people they talk about the most though are Allen Robinson, Akeem Hicks, and Khalil Mack. Mm-hmm. Allen Robinson, what are you replacing? What, 30 catches last year? 35 catches?
Exactly.
That's what they're replacing. Akeem Hicks was out for a long time. Khalil Mack missed what, 10 games?
Right.
So
it was just name recognition. It was just the name that they were replacing, not the production.
Right. But not the production, but Allen Robinson, what we're seeing this time is the attention. Allen Robinson is a proven receiver to get 1,000 yards. I mean, him and Mr. Trubisky, first of all, shout out to Mike North. Shout out to Mike North and the Early Bears special show every Sunday morning game day. Mike North, go back and listen to the show. Mike North and Aldo Gondia, he hit it on the head. Sometimes when the Bears feel like they got it, sometimes we just go away from it. Allen Robinson and Mitch Trubisky actually had something. And the following year, we literally alienated Allen Robinson from the wide receiving tree, period. And Bears fans actually accepted that. And Bears fans started to believe Allen Robinson sucks. And we were fine with Darnell Mooney. Mind you, guys, go back to the tweets. Our Bears fans said we're better off without Allen Robinson. Darnell Mooney can handle it by himself. So what I'm saying with that is we have to be careful what we ask for, because when teams start to prepare for you, it's a different ball game. You can add RG3. Very, 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 very clear and simple when this defense started to prepare for you. But John, real quick, going forward, the Giants, this is a team just like us preparing. This is a brand new coach. This is a brand new coach over there with the Giants. Saquon Barkley has saved his coach with a couple late runs. They had some last bad-minute decisions. The Giants could easily be they could be 0-for, but he started off 0-2. What are your thoughts about the Giants, John?
I think that's a winnable game. I think that they're probably going to look at some of the Bears tape and start stacking the box and really try to see if they can make Justin Fields throw the ball more than 15 or 20 times in a game. So we'll see what happens. But I think that as much as the Giants, playing well, their margin to victory is incredibly thin. I think it's like they won the first game by 2, second game by 3, and then we'll see what they do on Monday Night Football. But I don't think that this is a game where it's just like, oh man, there's no way they can win. No, this is a very winnable game, and I think they should be able to continue running the ball and running the ball well. Like I said earlier, though, eventually there's going to be a game where you're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more. And I don't know if it's going to be against the Giants. I think that this is probably another game where they can probably just try to control the ball and keep it close and make a big defensive play and maybe get to Daniel Jones a little bit because it's not like they have explosive, out of this world receivers. They have some talent over there with is it Slayton and Kadarius Toney and even the Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, is the rookie that's over there. So I mean, they have some nice players, and then of course Saquon Barkley being the centerpiece there. But I think that this is a very winnable game. It might be ugly again. It may not be exactly what Bears fans want to see, and it may look pretty crappy at times. But that's how they're winning ball games right now. So
Right.
we'll see if I think that you're probably going to see a pretty similar blueprint going into next week against the Giants that we saw today against the Texans. And then I think that will have to change dramatically when they have Minnesota the next week. But I think that they're probably going to have a very similar game plan.
And then Danny, I kind of ask you both. As Mike North also said, and I saw myself on national TV, we saw Pittsburgh Steelers offensive linemen getting picked up and slammed on Thursday Night Football, literally. And if Justin Fields had Mitch Trubisky stats right now, we wouldn't be upset at all. We would actually take that in terms of wide receiver to quarterback connection. But Danny, against the Giants, they're definitely going to run the ball. They're definitely going to run the ball against us, Danny. Are we staying true? We don't. Let's just say David Montgomery's not playing. Because we have to come if that's a reality. Danny, what do you see? Did we do enough today to take a step forward in our passing game next game?
No, I mean today for me at least there was no step forward in the passing game. It was more just kind of stuck in mud, right? Not. Yeah, I didn't think they went backwards. I mean there were some nice plays we touched on earlier with the throw to Komet a couple of times. There's some nice plays there. There was a nice play where I like the way Justin Fields kind of used that 3/4 arm angle, going back to his baseball days. Kind of got that ball out of there, found that passing lane, and get that first down. I believe it was to Mooney, if I'm not mistaken. So, there are some pluses there as well. But with the Giants in terms of the game plan, again, you're a running football team, and you have to run a football down their throat. The one thing that does concern me is Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator for the Giants, is a very aggressive defensive coordinator. So if in passing situations, I would not be shocked to see them bring zero pressure on Justin Fields, just trying to kind of rattle him early on. So if you're Getsy and the Bears, do you kind of take that into account and say, all right, this could be a time where we kind of hit the ball deep and see what happens. So those are one things I'm looking for early on with that, in terms of the Giants coming here next week. But again, John, you touched on it again. It's a winnable game, right? It's a team that the Giants, that's gone off to a 2-0 start. We'll see what happens Monday night, but they're also a team that could be 0-2. Just they got the breaks the first couple of weeks as well. So we'll see how that comes up. But they're going to be coming off of a short week. The Giants, that is. The Bears are going to have a whole full week over West. I don't expect Montgomery to be playing this game, so I think it's going to be a heavy dose of Khalil Herbert again. And I just want to see progression here with the passing game. And again, this is a defensive coordinator that's going to bring heavy pressure, I believe, on Justin Fields. So, are we going to be prepared to be able to attack it and make some plays downfield? I think this is where, guys, if Velus Jones is available, that'd be huge to be able to get that speed back on the field. Maybe just throw a ball down the field and see what he could do up with it, So I just think you're going to have to start making these defenses play, back a little bit, because all they're going to know is like, all right, you guys can't throw the football. We're going to stack the box and make you throw it. And until you actually beat them with the pass, they're not gonna back off, in terms of stacking the box. So this is where now we're gonna see where Getsy and the offensive staff gets creative here, hopefully with what they have on offense.
Gentlemen, real quick, before we wrap up here, who were your players of the game? Offense and defense. I'll give you one each. One each, offense and defense. Who were your playmakers? Who showed up that you didn't expect? John.
Well, it's Khalil Herbert on offense. Yeah. I don't know who else you could possibly give it to, unless you're just going to be really creative about it and just go real deep. But Khalil Herbert, obviously, and then once again, there's a few people you could go to on defense, but if Roquan Smith is just obvious, just like 16 tackles and kind of a game-sealing interception that allowed the Bears to win the game there whenever things were looking a little dicey. So I mean, I'll cop out and take the two most obvious ones. Now, if you could probably pick a few other guys maybe on the defensive side of the ball, but those are my two.
Yeah, I mean, for me, again, Khalil Herbert, hands down, he's the guy who stepped up when Montgomery went down, had 157 yards rushing, that's 2 touchdowns, a career high. And defensively, obviously, Roquan was all over the football field. I think if anyone was questioning Roquan last week after the Packers game, this is the Roquan Smith that we all come and expect and love. And I think, a healthy Roquan Smith is what you're going to see. And this is the type of defensive impact he can make from that weak side linebacker position. These are the wild plays that are eventually, if he continues making these plays throughout the season, is going to get Roquan that contract he's been trying to get from the Bears. If not from the Bears, then someone for sure will give him that $20 million plus contract, because these are the type of impact plays you want to see from a weak side linebacker. So, but if just to kind of not to go with Roquan there, Eddie Jackson, man, I know he had an interception. He came up and made some nice tackles. He had that fumble. He caused that fumble that unfortunately the Bears couldn't recover early on in the first half. So I think the Eddie Jackson I've seen these first 3 weeks is the Eddie Jackson I've been trying to see for the last 2 years, right? These guys up there making plays. I think Tyler touched on it earlier. Whenever Eddie Jackson has an interception in a game, the Bears are 12-0. I believe that's the record.
I don't know.
So I mean, to show you the kind of impact this guy can make. So just to kind of go off of obviously Roquan had a great game, but I think just another guy in defense that kind of maybe went a little bit under the radar was Eddie Jackson. I think he had a pretty good game. There was a series or two where he was out of the game, and DeAndre Houston-Carson was in there. So I was like, oh, did he get injured? I didn't see anything being mentioned on TV, but then he ended up coming back. So hopefully it was just maybe a equipment malfunction or whatnot. But definitely Eddie Jackson gets my game ball on defense, and then Khalil Herbert.
Amen. And guys, I asked you that question on purpose because Roquan Smith has had a game for me. But Danny, to your point, I feel like Eddie, outside of that tip drill interception, I feel like Eddie had a great, it was a game, it was like last man defense, tip drill, pass deflects on it. I think it was a tight end wide receiver on the third right hash. And he literally saved it. He swooped in. I thought he picked it off. He came through the camera so fast. But Roquan Smith, what did he do for his contract today, Jen? Before we wrap things up, John, what did Roquan Smith do? This is a man saying, hey, I'm going to better myself. Well, just like Lamar Jackson. And then he could have said, hey, I'm not playing. I don't feel well. I'm going to choose my health over playing the game. But he went out there. He battled with his teammates. I saw Roquan Smith make tackles that he clearly missed against the Packers. I mean, I saw Roquan Smith going at the guy's legs in the backfield. What did Roquan Smith do for his contract, John?
See, I know that it's real trendy. Like when Lamar Jackson had his game last week, he's like, Lamar Jackson just made a ton of money. It's like, well, they don't negotiate right after your best game. It's very rare. It's not how it happens. This is a business. They don't wait until your stock is as high as it could possibly be and then say, hey, let's start talking about your contract. That's just, I don't necessarily see that happening. So is he maintaining his resume that he should be paid that much? Today certainly helped, but I think they'll start looking at this thing holistically whenever they start open up negotiations, whenever that may be. Could be after the season. I don't know what the deal is with that right now, but it most likely will be after the season. But this certainly maintained his reasoning of why he wants that amount of money. But the Bears aren't going to be like, well, you played really well in week 2. Here's that $25 million. So I think they're probably gonna look at this thing a little more holistically. And once again, I hope he's with the Bears. I think he's a phenomenal player. It's not easy to go find a linebacker that can do that kind of stuff. And even if you let him go, then you have to replenish it with a draft pick. So they have the space, the cap space to wrap him up for a while, depending on how they want to spread the money out. So it certainly helped his cause, but let's not think like, oh man, he cemented his salary today, because that's not really how the business is done.
Well, games like this definitely help his cause, and I think the more he has, the more it's going to go, towards online him being rewarded. I think, Tyler, what helped his cause already was the way he's already taken care of himself in terms of how he's acted once he ended his hold in, and the way he was with the coaching staff, the way he was with his teammates. He was never one of these guys that kind of went out there and spouted off. I mean, I know he requested a trade And then that was that one thing during training camp. But after that, that was all part of negotiation. After that was done, he was all hands on deck. He was business as usual. I think that's really appreciated by the coaching staff and by his teammates. I think that's kind of helped ease the way in terms of, if there was any sort of tension with him and management, I think that kind of helped ease some of that tension. And now, again, you put on performances like this week in and week out, I think he's going to be a Bear for a long time. That's my prediction. I think they're going to lock him up after the season.
Gentlemen, I completely agree. Lance Briggs, nominated to go to the Hall of Fame. He played that will side. He played that same will side when everything funnels to you. And we see Roquan benefit from that same kind of action today. And if I'm a business owner, I want to lock him up before his stock gets higher. What if Roquan has 16 tackles every game, the rest of the game? You see what I mean? And so,
or flip side, Tyler. But Tyler, on the flip side, what if he has a Packers game every week, the rest of the week?
I mean, you're right. I don't know.
Yeah. You just gotta let it play out. I think you just gotta let it play out for the Bears.
I mean, but on this notion, the once called Redskins, now called Commanders, they could have locked up Kirk Cousins for $15 million a year, but they said that was too much money. But then what happened? He ended up balling out under Shanahan for 4,000 multiple seasons. Then the Vikings gave him 4. You see what I'm saying? And so at the end of the day, you got to lock people up. Before Under Armour signed Steph Curry to a deal before he was the MVP of the NBA. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's easier to do that with.
I think Washington won that one though. I think Washington won because you could be stuck with Kirk Cousins as your quarterback for all these years. I think Washington won that one.
I don't know. I mean,
I think it's easier to do that. I think it's easier to do that with quarterbacks, just because you they could be around for the long term. I mean, those high collision positions, you're not guaranteed a 10, 11, 12-year career always. And we've seen, and you're not always guaranteed to play 17 games either. We saw it with Khalil Mack. We saw it with Akeem Hicks. These were guys who were top 5 in salary on the Bears roster, and they were missing games. And you don't always, and with all the rules in place to protect the quarterback, it's safe to assume unless something serious happens that you're probably going to get the majority of the year out of your quarterback. So you're going to get your money's worth out of that. That's not as easy with some of those defensive players who are constantly clashing heads and banging heads. And, they could miss 3-4 games a year, or at least 2 to 4 games a year. And then is it worth the $20-25 million you're investing in the position whenever the backup's in? So,
I mean, just my thoughts is for us, I'm just hoping, John, we sign him so we don't create another need. Like Danny said,
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Having our assets available at in this coming offseason, our draft capital. I don't want to create another hole. I want us to attack to hopefully maybe Danny, I don't know, offensive line, nose tackle in the draft, wide receiver in the draft. That's where my thoughts are. I don't want to have to create. Yeah. I don't want to have to get another. We might running back. I don't want to have to create more holes to go get. And so that's why
100% agree.
Right. He does his job. He loves his team. He's respectful. He's nice with the media. You know what I mean? Like, why replace it if you don't have to?
Yeah, I'll make this one because just to bolster your point, because I 100% agree. What we've seen the problem with this franchise be in the last 4, 5, 6 years is they have to keep putting Band-Aids on their poor decisions. So, they don't think that Trubisky thing's working out, so they got to go get Nick Foles and then Andy Dalton. The Leonard Floyd, they let him go, so they have to go get Robert Quinn. Kevin White doesn't work out, so eventually you got to go get Allen Robinson. Adam Shaheen doesn't work out, so you got to go pay Jimmy Graham and then draft Cole Kmet. So you're never actually able to address the positions that need addressed because you got to go put Band-Aids on all of your screw-ups. So if they're able to actually keep some of those big-time assets in place, then they can go address the offensive line. They can go address wide receiver. They can go address some of those areas that they need instead of always trying to put Band-Aids on their screw-ups. So I agree that Roquan should be here because, once again, I don't want to have to invest draft assets or free agency into a position that's already sewn up. We don't necessarily need to, go put a Band-Aid on that. That's there's no wound there. That's Roquan Smith. So I would agree that I would like to see him back.
Absolutely.
Well, just because I'm watching real quick, guys, just because I'm watching the red zone here, everybody talks about Herbert, how great he's been. I just seen him throw a touchdown pass to Michael Williams, where the defender was draped all over Michael Williams. Okay, there was no. If you looked at that play, there's like no way you're throwing a ball to that receiver. But Michael Williams goes up skies and makes a great play for a touchdown. Justin Herbert gets credit for a touchdown. But see, Justin Fields doesn't have that luxury of being able to
Right.
do that, or that playmaker on the outside to throw the ball up there and have him score a touchdown for him. So those are the key things here. We don't just look at stats and what the kid did in his first two, 3 seasons in the NFL. Look at what he has around him as well.
And
Just
then
want to end on that real quick.
But Dan, that's a good point. And then remember, Mike Williams, his first 2 seasons, he wasn't getting a lot of love either. They were saying they were calling Mike Williams a bust his first 2 years in the NFL.
It's because he was injured a lot. That's the thing with him, is he was injured.
He was injured, but when he played, their fans called him a bust. Like
Sure.
they said, this guy's not available, and so it just goes to show you, you know what I mean? Like
Take some time.
everybody wants it now.
Right.
We all want it now. But wrapping up, Danny, starting with you, brother. Final thoughts, what you're working on, anything you want to talk about, brother?
Final thoughts, man. A win's a win. I know it was ugly. It wasn't as pretty as someone wanted on offense. I think Justin Fields, just reading some of his comments after the game, like the thing about the kid gets it, right? He's not up there saying, putting up flowers and all this roses and saying, hey, everything's great. He goes, he played like crap, and he knows it. But this kid is determined to get better. Last week he got flagged for some clip that they took out of context about him and saying about the fans. Total BS. That's total BS, clickbait there, and I fell for it. But he came back and said, listen, guys, I was pissed last week. I didn't want to do the post-game interview because I was so upset about the way I played. Again, today he says he's taking accountability. He's saying I'm not playing well. And this kid is determined, just going back to his high school days, his college days, whenever he's challenged, he rises to that challenges. I implore you, fans, do not give up on this kid, right? Do not give up on this kid, because I'll be like the Jets head coach. I'll be keeping receipts. I'll be keeping receipts on everyone's giving up on this kid. And I'll be coming back hard at you guys. So just listen to me. Do not give up on Justin Fields. It takes some time. It's not pretty right now. I have faith in this kid. I have faith it's gonna get prettier as the season goes on, and as his career as a Bears player goes on. 2-1 with a chance to be 3-1 next week. I think if they're 3-1 next week, I think all three of us are going to be excited, even if it's an ugly win. A win's a win. And like I said, Matt Eberflus's first year is just trying to establish that culture, trying to get that winning positive attitude coming here in this organization. I do have some questions about Eberflus's use of timeouts or lack thereof, and in the first half. Hopefully, I know we didn't get his audio here. Hopefully he explains that, because that's something that really bothered me. So I want an explanation in terms of why that he went that route. But other than that, it's a win. It's 2-1 off to New York next week. Hopefully we come up 3-1.
But Danny, real quick, because that's a good point. Real quick, sorry, John. And so, but we talked about defensive coaches being conservative. We saw Lovie Smith as fake punt. We saw Lovie Smith do the fake punt, and then we were conservative. So you're right. That kind of threw me off. I didn't expect Lovie to do that, gentlemen.
No, I mean, it is what it is. We know what I mean. It was very similar play style, very similar. You know what you're going to get from Lovie Smith teams, and what it was very similar to what the Bears tried to do today. Just we know Lovie. I respect Lovie. He was a great coach while he was here. And to your point, Danny, can you imagine what would happen if Justin Fields would have said, actually the fans care more than we do? So that would yeah. So it would have created a much bigger story if he said that. I like the fact that he was actually pissed off about it, because it wasn't like when Rex Grossman blamed New Year's Eve for that one loss they had that one year, where it's just he was distracted because it was New Year's Eve. No, I want my quarterback pissed off because he lost, and I appreciate that. So. I'll just roll into my final soliloquy here. So it was an ugly game. They won the game. It was not aesthetically pleasing, but there were plenty of games last year that were aesthetically not pleasing that they lost. So they won this game. They're 2-1 with a chance to be 3-1. Just saw a report that Darnell Mooney's out on the field with the jugs machine right now, catching balls. He's clearly not happy with his performance. Justin Fields clearly not happy with his performance. We have a bunch of players that care. Now, caring only gets you so far, but it's a foundation that you can build on. It's a culture you can build on. So happy that they won. Lots to clean up, but you know what? If you would have told a lot of people the Bears would be 2-1 after 3 weeks, they would have bet against it. So it's a good position to be in right now. I'd rather clean things up with a winning record than clean things up 0-3. So it's just things that you can keep building on. Winning becomes contagious. Winning becomes a culture. You expect your team to win, and especially when you win and you have guys that are pissed off with their performance, I can respect that. So let's keep moving it forward. There's a potential win next week with the Giants, and we'll go out and get it. Gaines, take us home.
John, don't you got some shows coming up, brother?
Oh, shit, yeah. Darn it. I have a show coming up Wednesday, Buffon 55. We'll be breaking down the New York Giants and how the Bears can potentially take advantage of some of those cracks in the defense, or what they can possibly do to stop the juggernaut that is Daniel Jones, or contain Saquon Barkley more likely. So that's Buffon 55 live at 7 Central, 8 Eastern time. We always have a guest in that covers the team that the Bears are about to play, and then Alyssa Barbieri and I will go through the B55 segment. Aldo Gandia joins us in the last segment to just have a free-for-all about Bears talk. Make sure you join us either live or listen to the podcast version. We appreciate everybody that tunes in for that.
Awesome sauce. And then Darnell Mooney catching Pat. Doesn't he have a jug machine at home? Wasn't that the talk all off season? So, bruh, how many jug machines do you need?
I think that was in Florida. I think wasn't it that when they were training in Florida?
As many as it takes. I don't care.
But tons of content happening here at the Barroom Network. Ladies and gentlemen, we so appreciate you guys joining us here at the Barroom Network. Just give us a follow. When it comes to all Chicago sports, we got you covered. Bears, Sox, Cubs, Blackhawks, and definitely Bears. We're gonna have you covered. Shout out to Aldo Gandia, the man behind the curtain, doing a phenomenal job leading the troops. Shout out to the Bar Flight Tailgate Show. I mean, we know my man Lauro. We got the Bulls coverage coming up really, really soon. And it's been fun, guys. It's been really fun. It's cool. I didn't know how I was gonna feel like an hour ago. I didn't know how I was gonna feel. I didn't know how I was gonna feel. I'm like, it was. They said it was gonna be quick. And so
that first quarter kind of dragged, right? Then the third quarter flew.
Third quarter happened in about 10 minutes. I don't know how they got 15 minutes into a 10-minute span, but they did it.
I mean, shout out to us staying consistent with the running game. That was pretty cool. But at the Barroom Network, Bear football, we're here for you guys, win, lose, or draw, every single game, halftime and post game. And for myself, everything at the Barroom Network, we are here to raise up each other. I mean, we wake up with gratitude, so we don't walk around with entitlement. You all already know the Mombasa Kenya Relief Initiative. I will be traveling to Mombasa, to Kenya this coming March, and we're helping over 3,000 kids get access to education, healthcare, and computer supplies. And so you guys can go to MRI.org. $50 sponsors a kid for the entire year and tuition. And if you're about those gains, John, I do got a powerlifting competition coming up. You guys can go check out gainsondeck.com. I'm a Navy combat medic, so I believe in giving people healthy alternatives, pre-workout, nutrition. I'm about that life as a nutritionist, but more importantly, have peace, love, and faith, and everything will work out. From us here at the Barroom Network, Aldo Gandia, John Buffon, Danny Shimon, we wish you all an amazing week, and no matter what, be great. Bear down.